there's a great line in the film where the heavyset guy is talking to Chris at the party, and he's like, "Oh, the pendulum has swung. It used to be that being white was the thing, and now being black is in fashion." I think this is I think the pendulum swinging is more to the fact that, as you've said, it's no longer abject bigotry. Mm-hmm. It's no longer, using the N-word or, while that stuff does still exist. I think this last election in the United States was for sure evidence that vitriolic racism is still around. The pendulum has swung the other way, where people overcompensate to try and be nice to black people.
Or as, you could see Chris and Rose kind of give this party guest a strange look, and he's like, "Oh, what? Me? No, I wasn't trying to be racist, right?" Yeah, he does a great job in that scene, just the mannerisms and the look he gives, almost apologetic.
Absolutely, and there's the scene with the guy who's like, "Oh, do you like sport? Do you like golfing? I know Tiger Woods,
Of all athletes you mentioned.
Yeah, you need to mention Tiger Woods. And it almost reminded me, I work with people who are extremely homophobic at times, and if you guys are listening, you are. I'm not even going to be apologetic about it.
You know who you are, Matt.
And
Jason.
Exactly.
And I hope I've named some people at your work just so they antagonize you a little tomorrow.
I really hope they do. Fuck you. Anyways, though, who I will call them out on being homophobes, and they'll say, "Oh, no, I love gay people. I sucked a dick last night." Like they get really overcompensatory for it.
But sometimes, they do ABC and XYZ.
Now, I'm not a racist, but and nothing good has ever come after a sentence like that.
Yeah.
Something else that I think this is all leading to is the fact that this is a very topical film. Though, one question for you. Do you think it could have been made 5 years ago?
No. No, I don't think so. I think the timing of the release of this film, I doubt even Jordan Peele knew it was going to be timed this well. With the Trump presidency, I think it came out shortly before or after his inauguration. I think shortly after.
Yeah.
Racial tensions are high in the United States, and here's a movie that puts an entertaining spin on it, really.
Yeah, it does, absolutely. I could definitely see him garnering inspiration from the election, because that really brought out the worst in America. Fucking so far. So we both agree it couldn't have been made 5 years ago, and I think this is a sign that right now the political climate of North America is going to really bring about some properly good movies. And I think this and Logan were very good examples this year of movies that play on the current political climate.
Yes, yeah. They were timed well with their release.
Yes.
If you're confused, Logan, it's all about border control, separation between different groups,
exactly,
mutants and humans,
what it means to be an American and being different in America is a big theme.
So if this film was released 5 years ago, we would have been, almost at the halfway point of Obama's presidency, and not saying that this film wouldn't have done well, but the message is not as powerful when an African American is in the most powerful seat of the entire country.
Yeah, of the world, in fact.
Leader of the free world, if you like to call him that.
I completely agree with you. I think that had it been brought out, it wouldn't have been as popular for sure. And I think a big criticism that you would have heard, not that I would have disagreed, would be that even though we do have an African-American president, there are still problems within the communities that aren't being addressed and stuff like that. So I think that I think it would still play. It wouldn't be as poignant, though. It wouldn't have been as well timed. Okay, so 5 years from now, what does this movie hold up? Do you still watch it?
I think so. Just as a huge fan of it.
Yeah.
It was audiences were receptive to it. I mean, I assume if you're to do a ratio of gross profit over budget, no film will perform better than Get Out in 2017.
Oh God, no.
Yeah. I've chatted to my colleagues at work. Those who have seen it love it. Universally, those who haven't seen it want to see it because people are still talking about it.
Yes.
Now, will this be held up as a classic? I'm inclined to think so. I mean, Jordan Peele is really popular right now.
Yeah.
No doubt. He belongs in the director's chair. His next film will get an increased budget.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Which there's a part of me that thinks to myself, I hope that doesn't hinder him.
Yeah.
Because some of the best movies in history, like my favorite movie of all time is Jaws, and part of the reason why that movie worked so well is because nothing worked in that movie.
And on top of that, my favorite director is Spike Jonze. All his films, he makes the most of his resources, right?
Absolutely.
And his films are so critically acclaimed that he's at the point now where he does get low budgets, but actors want to work for him.
No, exactly. So my only fear, I guess, would be that there would be a bountiful budget bestowed upon him, and he would go completely overboard. But I have faith. I'm not saying that's going to happen. I'm just saying that I think what I like about this is that it was cheap and it was simple.
You also wonder, will he return to comedy? I mean, he had an extensive run on Mad TV. Then he did Key and Peele, which is hilarious. I don't think Hollywood or audiences want to see him and Keegan-Michael Key ever separate, despite Key and Peele being in the past now. And they voluntarily decided to end it. They didn't want to milk the cash cow anymore.
Yeah, exactly. And obviously they wanted to pursue other projects, which for Jordan Peele seems to be working extremely well. Like, again, if his next movie is anything like this, I think we're all in for a massive surprise.
So this is almost a better question to revisit once Jordan Peele hopefully has released more films.
Yeah, absolutely.
And is he going to be held as in the same regard as some of the sexy newish directors like J.J. Abrams nowadays? I mean, a different style, but you get what I mean in saying that perhaps people are going to say Jordan Peele in the same conversation as J.J. Abrams, Spike Jonze, Damien Chazelle.
Exactly. I think another thing with this movie that I've been thinking of recently is I really hope that this movie remains popular, but I hope that it doesn't remain poignant and topical. I hope we get to a point where in the future we can watch it and be like, holy fuck, do you remember when it was like that?
Yeah.
Like, kind of like Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, you know? I really hope we can get to that point. I don't see it swinging that way anytime soon, which is saddening, but...
I also... maybe one thing this film doesn't have going for it is it's not quotable outside of maybe Rod has a few funny lines.
Yeah, but
and the point I'm trying to make there is films that are quotable. Lord of the Rings, Gollum saying "My precious" and Dirty Harry, "You feeling lucky, pug." Those are immortalized by their one-liners.
Yeah, no.
This film doesn't have any, so you wonder, not just in 5 years' time, I think 5 years' time people are still going to remember this film, but in 10, 20 years' time, will a child of the next generation be able to say, Get Out, I've heard of that, but never seen it. What's this film about? I want to watch it. Kind of like my parents introduced me to some of the films of the 70s and 80s that I've never seen, but have heard about. A good example of that were the Terminators, Alien.
A good one for me would be like Cool Hand Luke, Goodfellas, all that kind of stuff. And I really do hope that in 20 years we do hit the point where, kids are still talking about this movie and people are still talking about this movie because it is an important film. And I would say that I would hope that Max and I are still talking about movies in 20 years as well. So maybe this is something we can revisit on a 20-year anniversary edition of Cynical Discharge.
Yeah. Thanks for listening to us, viewers, or viewer. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if we're at viewers yet. I mean, if you consider both of our parents, that makes 4.
That makes 4,
So
yes.
off to a decent start. So
Yeah.
if you're listening to this, we really appreciate it. Hopefully we won't bug you to death with sponsors if this podcast gets big, but we feel like this is just going to be a fun project between 2 friends.
Absolutely. So I'm Bucky.
I'm Max.
Have a good week.